be, then I'll go. Thought that
Sorry. So good morning. Welcome to the Grand Colombia channel. Welcome to the stream. This is a beautiful yet overcast day. I see no blue. I see nothing but clouds. It's probably going to rain this afternoon, but it's the temperature is just perfection. It's about 72, 73, somewhere around there. So welcome to the channel. This is Coffee Time Live on the Grand Colombia channel. We do this every Sunday, except next Sunday when I will be in Bucaramanga. I have no laptop, so everything will have to wait until I return. My discontinued logo. I want to start off by thanking someone named Howard. Early this morning, he sent through a donation to the channel, and I really appreciate it. And he sent it through Google Pay. So normally I get an email telling me and I can respond that way. But on Google Pay, I just get a notice that it went through. And so I thought I'd just thank him right here, right now. You notice I have this hat. It finally came in, and so I can wear these. Sandy will be on shortly, and hopefully it'll be an improvement on my end. Those white earbuds keep falling out. It's been a pain, so we'll see how this goes. But that's the reason for the hat. Of course, it does have the logo on there. Before I pull Sandy on, I just want to mention something that I'm a little baffled, and so I look to you guys to let me know what you think. My last video that I uploaded was mostly a talking video, didn't require a lot of editing. Excuse me. And like so many of the things I do, it came based on requests, and I'll characterize a lot of emails and messages I got into one summary. Hey, how do you vote when you're there? Is it a lot of problems? Is it difficult? Are you able to? Could you ever do a video on that? And so I decided, sure, I'll do a video on that. And so it wasn't a very long video, and it shows the government website you go to if you're in the military or if you're an expat, whether you're living permanently overseas or temporarily. And it shows how to choose your state and go vote. And so I did that, and I played about a 2-minute video from that website, which kind of explains a little bit also. And that was it. And I thought, well, it's a good informational video, and the people that were interested in that, they'll appreciate that I did it, and people that aren't interested, they won't bother watching it, which, that's fair. That's the way it should be. Every video isn't for everybody. Well, what really baffled me, this was strictly informational. It had nothing to do political. It was just about how to vote. And I showed the ballot that I got. I didn't show what I voted. I took a couple dog catchers or something and put both Democrat and Republican just to show how to mark it. And so anyway, the feedback I got on it was not very good. I got a lot of thumbs down. I don't understand. See, things like that just kind of baffle me. It's got, if you count it as a score, as a grade of the how was that video, this was basically failing marks. And I'm astounded about that, because if you don't like it, don't watch it. I mean, if you already know how to do it, if you need to know how to vote, it was a really good video. So anyway, I'm interested to know what you guys think, where I went wrong, or we just have trolls that decide to hit me. Okay, so going Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Buenos dias, buenos dias, buenos dias. Oh, Howard, you're on. I greatly appreciate it. I'm glad you're here to listen to me acknowledge it. And we're going to have Sandy on for probably about 10 minutes. Hopefully, we'll have a better connection today. And here we go.
Hi.
You're looking very formal.
No. I'm
No?
with pajamas, my pants.
Oh, those are pajamas? I thought it was like an old lady dress or something.
Dress.
It's like grandma's dress.
Qué malo.
Abuela.
No. This is fashion.
So I sent you a couple emails of people that were interested in doing the exchange. You got those okay?
Thank you. I answered the emails. And now
Okay.
I'm going to talk with them for WhatsApp, I think. It's easier for me.
Okay, there's one that I didn't send to you, and he wasn't rude or anything, but some people might have gotten the wrong idea. He had this idea that you were looking for a boyfriend. And
No,
she's
I'm married.
not looking for a boyfriend. This is a very specific interest in actual language exchange because she doesn't use her English very often and it gets rusty. I mean, my Spanish, which was already not very good, but on those months when I was mostly in the house or in the apartment, I forgot a lot. And it took me a couple days to kind of get back to where I was. So that was the whole purpose of it.
I have a boyfriend.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't need another one.
Oh, a different one.
I don't need.
Okay.
So, but
I knew that.
told you I'm going to study my master degree, and I have subjects in English, so I need to practice. I want to practice.
Yep.
You
I know. It's just there's other people on here, and I wanted to make clear to everybody else that, if you got the wrong idea, I'm sorry, but we joke around a lot, but she's actually, even though she's always smiling, she's actually a very serious person. She's very serious about her academics, about her work, about her life, about her daughter. So, okay.
Yeah.
What's new in Ecuador? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
This is actually working good for me.
Yes.
Look.
It looks fine on you. Yeah.
I don't care how it looks. I was having a lot of problems with the white ones. They're the Samsung earbuds. And they've got these little things here where they fit and they're comfortable, but they constantly kept trying to fall out or they'd move a little bit and then I couldn't hear very well. And it was very distracting. Where these, I don't like this set, but this set was given to me, but they work really well. Even though they're huge, they work really well.
And are they comfortable?
Yeah, they are. They've got a big cushion on it, and the best thing is I can hear you much better.
Yes, my beautiful voice. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, what's new in Ecuador?
Oh, what's new in Ecuador and Cuenca? Cuenca was with another Latin American cities were honored for their efforts to contain COVID-19 pandemic. They say for smart strategies to
strategies
and mitigate the pandemic, but it was most for the public transportation system, for the tranvía, how the buses are working. They are having restrictions, and they try to don't be full with the buses, with the tranvía, and the prices.
So it's a political award, because I watch very closely in Cuenca, and the statistics in Cuenca were always so much worse than here or Manizales, this area. It was always so much worse. And, but it's good. Cuenca needs that award. They're always lobbying for tourists. They're working hard to get the tourists to come back. I know that.
We need tourists.
Is there any news when they're going to open the land border?
No, not yet. Yeah. I was looking for, because I have my friend from Venezuela, and they want to go, and they are waiting for them. They open the border.
They're trying to go back?
No, go back, like only for visit.
Yeah.
Their family, their parents. So
yeah.
She wants to. She has a job here, so she wants to go to visit their family.
When I was in Cuenca and I was talking to a lot of Venezuelans, I was helping some of those people, and every single one I would ask, "What do you miss most?" And every single person always said the same thing: my mother. Everyone. What do you miss most? My mother.
My mother. See? Kim, what else they are going to miss?
It's a good point. Yeah. That was mean.
What?
Okay. What else is new in Ecuador?
What else is new? Here in Cuenca, we have art again. They are open historic houses with works by Cuencanos, like art. They are having exhibitions. So they are open again.
So they're letting all the artisans show all the things that they make, or their paintings, for the tourists.
For the tourists, see. Yeah, I told you the last week, the holiday have good visitantes, tourists. Tourists.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it's good for the city, because too much people without work, and people selling on the streets. I think always was, but I think now it's more, and so I hope everything goes well, and we are having less cases and COVID, so I'm happy for that. And I did my COVID test Thursday. So I'm invicta. I'm still invicta.
Yeah.
Say invicta.
Negative. So what else is new in Ecuador or in Cuenca?
What?
What else is new in Ecuador or in Cuenca?
In Ecuador? No, I don't know. Anything else new here in Ecuador?
You're such a lousy news reporter.
I'm sorry. Now, this week I was really, really busy because I'm starting my master. I have too much work, and with my classes, I don't have time for anything. I am not watching TV news. I'm really busy. I have to study too much now.
Yeah.
So I'm a bad reporter. I'm sorry.
Well, you're getting broken up and kind of choppy again. So we're going to, yeah, so we'll cut it short. And so nice to see you. Glad you could stop in.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
And good luck with your classes.
Okay. Okay. Wait.
Ciao.
What?
Ciao.
Bye. Bye. Ciao.
Okay. Let me get this off. Bear with me here while I change my clothes. Okay. All right, what do we have here? All right, we're going to look at some news topics. I'm going to make some commentary this week on some of the news. Oh, this was the video that I was talking about, voting absentee. Oh, there's a comment here. You did fine. Things are just crazy in the States right now. Yeah, I understand that. I know what's going on. I keep track. But I'm just baffled because it was completely non-political. There was nothing political. I mean, I didn't even make some kind of snide comment in there. So, which normally I would do. All right. So let's take a look at some things I want to point out. Now, this paper, Columbia Reports, and I've told you before, it's a very biased, it's basically a socialist newspaper. And everything in it's kind of skewed. But there are some headlines that I wanted to go over to kind of point out. This first one here, it's really kind of sad. You see this white pride worldwide, and it's got the Columbia flag, and it says white supremacy in Colombia. And it talks about racial discrimination. It goes back to the 1500s, and it goes on and on and on about how terrible Colombia is. And what kills me is, with the exception of some places on the coast, when you get to the heartland of Colombia, like where I live, there's very little issue. Now, I will say that there's some problems with indigenous, but there are some particular reasons for that that have nothing to do with white pride or white supremacy. It's something other than that. Maybe I'll talk about it one day. But here you have a situation where you've got people that get along great. It's a very blended society. And if you're white, you're not better than if you're black or brown. And, a good portion of the population is mixed race. Actually, the greater proportion, the largest percentage is mestizo. They're mixed race, indigenous and white. So you have the situation that you would think people would strive for. I mean, we're living Martin Luther King's dream where, judged by the content of your character and not the color of your skin. And that's what you see here. But you have this undermining taking place, telling people that they don't realize how bad it really is here. And they're really trying to stir things up. And it's sad. And they point to the rest of the world and they make it worldwide because it's all a socialist worldwide movement, but it's here also. And what else do we have? It's just we don't want that one yet. All right, we've got here. This is another. Is Colombia reviving mass arrest of innocent citizens? Now, they don't say Colombia is. They're saying, is Colombia? And what they're doing is they're hearkening back to the days when there were a lot of problems. For most people, it's parents or more likely grandparents. And it's a time that nobody wants to go back to. But so they love coming up with headlines like this that will remind you of those bad times and insinuate that that's what's taking place now, which it's not. The mass arrests they're talking about were primarily in Bogota when they're having those riots, and they were, breaking windows, and in Bogota, not throughout the rest of Colombia, but in Bogota, that was happening, and there were arrests. And of course there were, and that's what they're referring to. So it's another way that it's just kind of skewed. Here, this is something that was actually, there's another headline that plays off of this, but this was a reasonable headline, and it was a reasonable story. Colombia to gradually resume international air traffic. How and when still uncertain. What I wanted to point out, and you can go and look this up and you can read any of these stories. And these headlines are the reason that I look at the Condillo news, because that is the news without twisting it around or count. It's the way news used to be. And it's all politically positioned. But it brings up a good point about international travel, how and when still uncertain. Something that in reading comments from a lot of people, they think, well, because I can't fly from here to England, for example, it's Colombia's fault. But you have to understand, these flights go to and from places. And so you can't just fly into a country. You have to have permission. You have to have compatible protocols. You have to have certain agreements. You have to have certain shared information. And so it takes time to establish the flights. And one of the reasons you saw flights to the United States being the very first ones, it's because the United States already had these protocols. They communicated with Colombia probably going back a couple months, where Colombia had time to set it up, and then they finally put the date on. But it all has to be approved on both sides. Colombia has to approve, and the United States has to approve, and there's a lot of logistical work that takes place. So it was done. It's working. Panama is functioning. They do have priorities with the United States, Spain, I think France, Panama. They have priority because that's where the vast majority of flights go to and come from. So obviously that would be the priority. That's where the biggest demand from people it is. So if you're in England, that flight isn't anywhere near as high on the food chain as these others, plus you have to do the work. You have to come to your agreement of, how is this going to take place? And so there's a number of countries that just aren't there yet. There's a number of countries that you don't even know if they're going to open. So that's what goes on here. And I'm very happy, grateful to see that the United States, Colombia, that flight's working well. Panama's working well. That will be expanding over the next month or two. But when they say it's uncertain, they don't know when. I didn't think about this a month or so ago when I was looking at it, but I keep reading more and more information. And a lot of the reason why they don't know is because it isn't entirely up to them. And it's not entirely up to the other country. These are things that have to be worked out. So there's that. Here, yeah, this is, okay, Duque, he's the president. He celebrates the restart of Colombia's manufacturing. Colombia's manufacturing is back up to about 95%. But of course, they have to do their political slam. But he forgets all about the sales collapse. No, nobody has forgotten about it. Obviously, everybody's painfully aware of it. But to have those factories up and running means that those people are back to work, which means more money will circulate in the economy, and that will bring other things along. There was a focus on the bigger employers to get more people back to work quicker. There's also a focus on exports to bring more money into the country, because this, as everybody was aware, cost a ton of money that they didn't really have. So it's these kind of headlines that it makes me, I don't want to read stories like that because they're just trying to, instead of just telling me the facts, they're trying to basically brainwash me. Another one here. This was a story off of the one that I talked about with the flights. Colombia's transport minister is clueless about restart international air travel. Well, she's not clueless. But this is the kind of stuff you get. And so I just caution you when you read this, even if you're a believer in socialism and therefore you're against anything that's not, even if that's the case, you really should be wanting to operate on facts and not on somebody's propaganda, whether it's for you or against you. I think it's an unhealthy thing. It's a lot of the reasons you have problems in the United States. And I just want you to know that while I love being here, you have and have had for a number of years this undercurrent that probably amounts to about 30% of the country that encompasses this ideology. Okay, so that's that. Let's get rid of that. And now, oh yeah, and there's two countries that have absolutely no restrictions. Mexico is one of them. And it's raining. It's raining, and it's not even noon. This is unusual. But I guess I'm not surprised. It happens once in a while. It's not a heavy storm, but it's a pretty good soaking rain, I guess you would say. Medium. Anyway, so Mexico has no restrictions. Honestly, I don't remember the other country. Maybe somebody there remembers the other country. All right, what do we have here for comments? Colombia reports is a joke. They're in search of problems that don't exist. That's exactly right. Mexico has flights also. Yeah. Okay, and now we're going to... It's Q&A time. It's time to start asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. Okay, we'll hit some questions and then we'll wrap it up for the day. Remember, there won't be a coffee time next week. This Thursday, this coming week, Thursday, 22nd, I'll be on the bus from here to Ibagué. And then there's one bus from Ibagué that goes overnight to Bucaramanga. So then I'll get on that bus, ride overnight, try to sleep. I don't sleep well, but you can sleep somewhat on these. The bus is a really nice, comfortable sleeping bus where you got lots of room and you can lay your seat down almost flat. Probably about a angle like that. And you've got Wi-Fi and, plug-ins for power and all of that. And they do stop for, so you can stretch your legs. Unlike Ecuador, when you take buses in Ecuador, they've got some nice buses, but when you take buses, they'll have a bathroom in the back, right? The problem is they keep it locked. They don't let you use it. You have to really raise hell with them or bribe them in order to use. They don't want to clean it. And but in Colombia, they don't do that. If there's a bathroom in the back, it's open for you to use. It's normal, and I like that. I appreciate that. As one who has to get up and pee a couple times during the night, if I'm on these buses, it could be real difficult to wait until you get somewhere. If it hits you, it hits you. And in Ecuador, it was always a problem when I would ride the bus from Cuenca to Quito. It's an 8-9 hour ride on the bus and overnight. And there were times it's like, oh my God, hurry up and get somewhere. One time I was yelling at the driver, and so he gave me the key. I went back and unlocked it, but he was all kinds of mad at me, and I got ugly looks from the rest of the trip. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, I'll be taking that bus. I'll be at Bucaramanga for the night of the 23rd. I'll be there for 5 nights, and then I'll get on the bus overnight back, and then I arrive in the morning in Ibagué. Now, buses from Ibagué to Armenia run every 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending on which bus line. And there's a number of bus lines. So when I get back, most likely I'll have 5-10 minutes, and there'll be a bus headed back to Armenia. I'm really excited about seeing the tunnel. I will have an issue. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now's the time. I will have an issue because I don't have a laptop, and I don't have that many memory cards. That I'll be using this, and I'll be using this, and I'll be using my cell phone for videos. But when those cards fill up, they're full, and I can't transfer them to the laptop. When I had somebody said, why do you even have a laptop? What's the big deal? Well, the thing is, you go off on trips. This happened to me once before when I was in Cuenca, where I went on a trip and I didn't take the laptop, and I thought it was just going to be for that day, but I ended up going to 3 different towns. As long as I was there, it's like, let's just do them now. So I stayed overnight a couple nights. So I ended up with all these video clips. I had 140 video clips. Now, if you have your laptop with you, as you get these clips, you download them, and you're not editing, but you're organizing them. You're going through them at night when you're not really doing anything. I go through at night. I see the ones, well, I won't use that, or that didn't come out. So I delete them. So I sort through like that. And then when I get back, the editing goes so much faster. It's already organized. There's a timeline laid out. Most of the junk is already gone, and it allows you to edit so much faster. But here, when I'm going for 5 nights, and we're going to be doing the tunnel, I'm going to be doing the bus trip, I'm going to be obviously doing Bucaramanga. There'll probably be a couple videos there. I'm going to go to the national park. I figure there's probably going to be at least 7 videos. It's going to be a massive number of clips, and when I return, it's going to be overwhelming to sort through these, to sort out what's going to go on what video and where, and it could take forever. So that's the reason laptops are important if you're doing this kind of work. All right, what do we got here? Are there opportunities to teach English in Armenia? There's not much opportunity for working in general. Plus, it can really complicate your income. Particularly if you're retired, it can throw you in another category. Oh, I do want to bring something up. The government is doing something here that it hasn't done in the past. There's been a law on the books forever that said a certain percentage of the money you receive has to go to the EPS system, the healthcare system. Now, the way it's always worked, even though that was on the books, you just go in and there's a minimum, it's like $37 more or less. And that's all they charged you. And, you carry your healthcare, you're fulfilling, and nobody cared. Nobody said anything. But because they're desperate for money and they're looking for ways to raise money, now when you go to get or renew your visa, which I have to do in 1 year, when you get or renew your visa, they're enforcing that. So if you have your health insurance and you've been paying for it, it's been $37. Depending on your income, that could go up to, as a sole single person, that could go from $50 to $70, $75 a month. Now, it's still not going to break the bank, But if you have a lot of money that you're retiring with, it can become pretty substantial. Now, those who are going to meet up with me, like Paul, remind me to mention to you some things that will save you a lot of money towards taxes. You don't have to set yourself up to give away all your money. So anyway, are there opportunities to teach English? I'll say yes. There's opportunities for English throughout Colombia. The only thing is, aside from what I just mentioned about a tax issue, you're going to get paid very, very little. The pay is going to be really bad. As a matter of fact, it seems like most every person that comes from the US or Canada here wants to teach English. But there are possibilities. All right. Do you think Colombia will get scared and close again? I don't think so. I think you just saw the World Health Organization, which have been naysayers all along, but even they came out and said these closures don't make any sense, that it causes more harm than good. And when you look at places around the world that did closures versus the ones that didn't do closures, you find that the end statistic, now some might have been worse here and better here and then worse here, but it takes some time. It takes some months for this to kind of come out in the wash. And what they're saying is it made little to no difference. So if that's the case, then what would be the point in destroying your economy? So no, I don't think Colombia is going to get scared and closed again. You know, I think it would take something like the bubonic plague to run wild, but COVID, no. Is there pushback from doctors and the scientific community regarding closures? I'm guessing you're at, regarding mask wearing. Not so much here. People don't like it, but people here just kind of figure it's not a big deal. Now, I get all the feelings about it. I go out, I wear my mask. You know, it's, do I like it? No. Do I think it's effective? I know for a fact it's not really effective, but I do think there are places for it. You know, I think it makes sense in some situations. Here, people just kind of roll with it. Everybody here was concerned about things closed up. The mask is the least of their worries. And now that everything is open back up, the mask is still the least of their worries. I think what will happen here is that eventually it'll just kind of fade away. I'm already seeing in certain cases, people out riding bicycle before, if you rode a bike and if you weren't wearing a mask, the police would pull you over. Now you're seeing people riding a bicycle without a mask and nothing's happening to them. So I think that's what will happen. I think it'll just kind of ease back into some kind of normalcy. The word that the Bucaramanga women among the most pretty, but they are strong and argumentative, please report, may not be true. I don't get involved with a lot of, well, actually I make friends with women. My entire life, I just kind of get along well with women. They tend to trust me and I don't betray those trusts. And I don't know, there's something about me they just kind of sense, and I make friends very easily with women. I could with men, but hey, you know, women are nice. So they tend to be a little more reliable. So, but that aside, I'm not out hounding. And so there's a lot of things I won't know, but I'll tell you this about Colombia women in general. They are strong and they are argumentative, I guess you would say. And God forbid if they think you're cheating on them, they're very jealous, and culturally it's acceptable to kind of go crazy if they think that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Now, is that everyone? No, it's not the case. And it's less so now than it was 20 years ago. But there's a fair amount of that that's kind of ingrained into the society. You don't really find meek and timid females here very much. They're very like the culture. They're very independent. They're strong-minded. They tend to have goals and they go after them. Sandy could be a Colombian. She's similar to that, but a lot of women in Ecuador are tend to be kind of meek and timid, subservient, where in Colombia, they'd be more apt to be wearing the high-heeled leather boots and carrying the whip. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's more of a mixture here, but there is some cultural stuff that's behind it. Yeah, there you go. They can tell you're no competition. That's probably true. You can find pretty women anywhere in Colombia. No city stands out more than the other unless you're specifically talking about Medellin. Yeah, that's really true. Now, Medellin, because of the nature of Medellin, I say to people, Medellin is not Colombia. Okay, so Medellin is Colombia, but it's not. It's a very different place. It's a newer place. If all you know is Medellin and then you venture out to places like where I live, you're going to see a whole different world. It's kind of like San Francisco is not the United States. San Francisco is what it is. I mean, it's a mecca for Haight-Ashbury, free love, and from those times forward, it's like gay capital of the world. It's free and loose and easy with drugs. I mean, to say it nicely, it's a very accepting city, but it certainly is not like Columbus, Ohio, or Akron, or places in North Carolina. So Medellin is a very different place, and you have all the tourists in the world mostly go to Medellin, and that leaves a lot of opportunity. And if you're a pretty girl, that leaves even more opportunity. So if you're a pretty girl and you're living in some small town where there's not a lot going on, you might decide to go to Medellin to be part of that. And so you will find probably a greater per capita percentage of stunning women as compared to other places. Now, having said that, there is no shortage of beautiful women anywhere in Colombia. There's something about the genes, the DNA of Colombians that for some reason produce an extraordinary amount of just gorgeous women. Las Vegas of Colombia. That's a good way of putting it. Actually, that's probably a better representation. Las Vegas being the fun city, it's where the tourists are, and you have all kinds of women go there, whether it's to cash in being a prostitute or to work in a casino or work in restaurants or work in transportation industry. There's just a lot more opportunity when you have so many people going there and spending so much money. When you have tourists coming, you have so many tourists that don't value the dollar. They're there just to have some fun, and they throw a lot of money around. And so, that causes some issues. Medellin was built on decades of illegal drug sales. The good thing is that they use drug money to open legitimate businesses, diversify Colombian economy. Well, there was some of that, but that would actually be a good conversation to have with somebody. I tend disagree to a large extent, because the economy is what it is, not because of that, but because the people went in a different direction. The people created this economy. Maybe you don't know, but what do you think a condo similar to where you're living would sell for? Maybe $50,000. I see them for sale, and they're all over the place. I'll see them. I know of one that's 4-bedroom, and it's huge. It's twice the square feet of this place, and it's selling for $50,000. It's in a little older building, but you're not going to spend it here in Armenia unless it's just absolutely stunning, amazing place. But normal, nice places like this, you're going to spend between $40,000-$60,000 typically. I'm trying to sort out if there are questions here or not. I'm not seeing question marks. There was an economy in Colombia before drug sales. Well, that's true. Yeah, and it was actually, the thing is, again, I would love to, this is a good topic for me because I've studied so much of the history here. The drug trade, that's a positive way to look at it, which, that's a good characteristic to have. But the drug trade stunted the growth of Colombia. That money, a ton of money came in, but most of it did not stick. It didn't go to the people here. It didn't go to just jobs that they could count on. And most people were cut off from it. And 20 years ago when I was here, I've mentioned a number of times, the unemployment rate in Colombia at that time was over 50%. It was terrible. And so that entire episode from after World War II until just, a decade and a half, well, Uribe actually was the beginning of change. That entire period, it stunted the growth of Colombia. It was not a good time, and it's amazing that the government did not fall because of the massive amount of assassinations and bombings. It's hard to actually look back and see the positives. There was some of what you say. Yeah, there was people that took that as seed money and did a legitimate business, but not a lot of that. It's not really the story of Colombia. Basically, the people rebuilt from the ashes. It's a very narrow statement. Medellin wasn't the only cartel in Colombia, nor was it the biggest. Right. Well, that's true. Everybody thinks of the one guy, but there was much more than that. And there was a reason he was targeted. It's because the other was bigger and was able to manipulate. Are you a native Colombian? Wait a minute. Oh, here we go. Question marks. Never discuss drug trade in Colombia. It will not be good, and it will be a typical American insult. That's true. There's no point. I mean, it's rehashing it. It's kind of like if you go to the United States and you're from another country, do you really see the United States as a country of slavery? It is not. It has not been for a long time. And, despite the politics around, the United States has progressed so far that really all you can do is have equal opportunity. You can't guarantee equal outcome for anyone anywhere, but you can have equal opportunity. And that certainly exists, which is why you have so many people from Africa, from Latin America, people of color that come to the United States for that possibility, and the many succeed in that. So do you really, if you're in the United States, if you're going to have somebody from Colombia go and treat you like you're a slave culture? It just doesn't apply, and so you come to Colombia, guess what? It doesn't apply. It just doesn't fit anymore. It's recent past, and so it really is a sore subject. It's a very wounding subject. You're not going to make any friends with it because people live through such hell over it that they don't want to be reminded. They want to progress. They want to grow. They want to move on from it. What year did you move to Colombia in the 90s? Are you talking to me? I didn't move to Colombia. I was here on a job, and I was here for just over 8 months, and that was in 2001 and 2002. So remember, the USA are the biggest user of drugs. Actually, Europe is a pretty huge market. When you step outside of the borders of the United States and you talk to people from other places in the world, and you start to look at information from other parts of the world, particularly if you're doing videos and you want to know about things, you soon figure out that there's a lot of self-hate that goes on in the United States, and people in the United States tend to blame themselves for so many things that it's actually better than in many other places in the world, including first world European nations. So, just a hint to people living in the United States, ease up on yourself. And another thing about the US is they're always striving to be better. Now, in Europe, that's a massive drug market. And as a matter of fact, last I looked, and I think it was 2018 stats, I'm shooting from the hip here, and I don't peg it exactly, but the gist is always right. There was more drug trade going to Europe than there was to the United States. That is also partly because they're doing so much border interdiction, even with the Mexicans. There's so much border interdiction going on in the U.S. that, it becomes a less favorable market, where Europe, it's still kind of open door policies. HD chillin', thank you. It's almost every week. I really appreciate the contribution. Okay, what do we got here? My reason for wanting to live in Colombia are many. Yeah, it's just a great place to live. You feel freedom here. It's people used to say when I was here before that coming to Colombia is like stepping back 50 years in the United States. Well, in Ecuador, there's a lot of truth to that. Here, there's aspects that are like that. The society tends to be like that. On the other hand, you have all the modern features that you would have in the US. You're not giving up on, the advances and the advantages and healthcare, and you're not sacrificing those basic things in life, but you are going to a culture that is much more comfortable. And to me, I just have a better sense of freedom, where in the US, it was starting to feel almost Big Brother-ish. Again, I don't want to get sidetracked. I had very specific reasons of why, but I could go on for 20 minutes on that topic. And while I think the US is just an amazing country, possibly one of the best, or if not the best in the world, I feel better living here. Here we go. Are you trying to say that the drug industry in Colombia is a thing of the past? No, I didn't say that. I'd be willing to bet the drug industry is alive and well. It is alive and well, but it's nowhere near. There's so much. The drug industry today is more underground. It's more isolated. And it's nowhere near of the level that it was before, when the drug industry practically ran the police forces and ran the military and infiltrated into the government. And it was basically a civil war within all of these organizations to try to weed them out and get them out. You know, if you had a police raid, there was a real good chance that the people you're going to raid wouldn't know about it even before the people going on the raid would know. It was very problematic. Today, it's so much less than that. You have a drug trade every country in the world. You got a massive drug trade in Ecuador, for example. You've got a massive drug trade in the United States and in Europe. But the comparison of the drug trade in Colombia today is so different than what it was in those years we're talking about. I mean, it's just nothing like that. And the challenge here is that the government stays strong and keeps it that way and keeps beating it back. The socialists actually want it to become stronger. You see that as you read the headlines, and they sympathize with the people that are involved in criminal activity and the FARC, and there's a lot of sympathy for criminals. And anytime the government lifts their hand to do something about it, then they're called fascist and all kinds of things. You know, so you have that, but you know, as long as the government stands strong and keeps doing what they need to do, we'll be okay. Compare living in Colombia versus Philippines, all aspects. You have the experience. I do, and I can't cover all aspects. I'll just cover a couple things about the Philippines I didn't like. I liked the Philippines, and I considered it for quite a while, but I really hate hot and muggy. And almost all of the Philippines, you've got a mountain place that you can go, but there's that. The Philippines is not the most stable in the world. The president they have, he's kind of back and forth. He tends to he was loving up things about China, although when they started encroaching on the territory of the Philippines, he began to change their mind. You have kidnappings and murders that take place because there's basically an Al-Qaeda type group in the Philippines, and there's sections of the Philippines that they are in control of. So you have a lot of issues going on in the Philippines that people tend not to want to talk about. Mostly it's hot. And the other thing is the poverty of the Philippines. It just gets depressing. Now, you can isolate yourself and live in a place that's very nice, and that's fine. But it's very difficult to go anywhere in the Philippines and for me to see that level of poverty. So, those are the big things for me, but the hot and muggy is probably top of the list. If the world followed Portugal's model and legalized drugs, you would take the money. Well, I can't agree with that, but we all have our opinions, and I'm not going to say that mine's right and yours is wrong. It's just the places that hasn't worked, that's been done, like the Netherlands, there's other issues that come out of it. I don't know if there is a magic answer to this. Vices everywhere, including U.S., Canada, drug, sex trafficking into the U.S., not just Colombia. Well, yeah, it's absolutely true. And that's something to keep in mind. Colombia is no better or worse than most places when it comes to this topic. It used to be worse than most, but it isn't anymore. From what I've seen, the women are no different in attitude. Different than what? So different. Well, Colombian women are unique. But again, they're not a monolithic group. They are everything. You'll find subservient women that want to be nothing more than a housewife and to please her man. You're going to find others that I don't have time for a boyfriend. I've got a place to make a mark in life, and nothing's going to slow me down. So you have everything. And that's one of the dangers when you talk in generalizations. People either take it as information that generalization applies to everybody, or they act on it. And it's just not the case. But there are historical reasons that Colombian women, as a stereotype, which is true because it's the majority. It's a cultural thing, that they're just fiercely independent, very jealous about the time that they put into somebody and making sure that they get that attention back. In some ways, there's a certain portion of the population, women, that's almost a little narcissistic. Like, you better tell them how beautiful they are every day because they spent 3 hours to get that way. You don't see that anywhere near to the extent that you used to see it. But, again, it still exists somewhat. I live in LA, and here it has become a bit, Vice here is a lot more than Colombia. That's why Colombia is my next home. Yeah, when it comes to particular places, and if you're in the United States, Baltimore, and again, even when you're talking about cities, you're talking about areas of cities. But, we all see the shootings and the death rates in Chicago that, it outpaces wars that have gone on. Baltimore and Chicago. Detroit's gotten better, but it still has its issues. Los Angeles. So, yeah, if you're from those places that are just kind of gone crazy, Portland, then, yeah, I mean, Colombia is a babe in arms compared to places like that. When I talk about the United States, I tend not to talk about the extremes, and I tend to talk more about what the U.S. is in general. And most places by far, and most people in the United States are not like those particular examples. Unfortunately, they're the big cities that used to be the crown jewels of the nation. So, that's the sad part of it, but most people aren't like that. And you can go to a lot of places in the U.S. where, you can still leave your doors unlocked and, rely on your neighbor. And, most of what they call flyover country is still good people like that. But, yeah, if you're in a place like LA, one of the things that would concern me anywhere in California is simply the cost of things. It's just gone crazy out there. I've got some friends that live in California. One of them, he's packing up and getting ready to move to Texas. He says he just can't afford to live there anymore. If he stays much longer on the trajectory that everything is going, he's going to end up living out of his car. And he used to have a really good life. So, people in the Philippines are very nice. Yes. The thing that's very difficult about the Philippines is the infrastructure. Yeah, that's another thing about the Philippines, the infrastructure. But they are really nice, sincerely nice people. And a little I'm never comfortable around people that kind of put you on a pedestal. And the Philippines does that maybe more than most places in the world. If you're a white Anglo from the USA, for example, it's like they treat you like you're some kind of god. As a matter of fact, there's fetishes there. Literally, there are fetishes in the Philippines with girls that want to become white. There's all kinds of skin creams and bleaches and things. And that their goal in life is to be with a white guy. Now, if you're a white guy, I mean, you might look at that and say, well, here's an opportunity. But the thing is, I don't know. Those things to me kind of weird me out, and I never liked that. When I was in the Philippines, I did see that. Part of it is the finances of it all because of the poverty, but it isn't just that. There's a thing there that goes on. Drug use and crime has gone down in Portugal as a result of the legalizing. Yeah, and like I say, I'm not going to argue with you because there are arguments on both sides of that, and there's some downsides to it also. But fingers crossed. Let's hope it works out. I know that a lot of things about the drug war certainly weren't the right way to go. I think. Imagine if you're in Colombia, though, and if you liberalized everything, what would happen with these organizations, and how long would it take before they own the country? So I think a lot of it depends on where it is. Portugal is not a drug exporting country, and so I think the argument could be made there in a way that it could never be made in a place like Ecuador or Colombia. Yes, the cost is probably similar for both countries. Philippines, Colombia, really much better value in Colombia. I certainly agree with that. Okay, what time is it? Oh, we're good. We've been an hour. We got to stop doing these hour and a half, 2 hour long coffee time. So we're gonna end it here. Thank you for the contribution, Howard. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Paul, if you're watching, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And to everybody else, great to have you here. Appreciate seems like all of you come every week, and I certainly appreciate that. So let's call it a day. Have a great day, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, unless some miracle happens. I'll see you in a couple weeks.